Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new. I'm Holly, and today I'm sharing with you a Crockpot Mediterranean chicken recipe. And very simple, easy recipe to make. It uses very simple ingredients, but for the first thing that you will need is a can of crushed tomatoes, and you want to have a large can, so I think that's the 28-ounce can. You will need 1 onion chopped up, 1 cup of Kalamata olives, 1 cup of Pinot Grigio, a white wine. Any type of dry white wine is fine, and I like to use regular wine that you would drink instead of cooking wine because it does make a difference in the taste. And you can even use chicken broth if you needed to. Also 1 tablespoon of oregano, and I'm using fresh oregano for this. You will also, but you can use dried oregano. You don't have to use the fresh. And 4 cloves of minced garlic, and I did stick to just the 4 cloves for this recipe, even though we love garlic. A tablespoon of olive oil for sauteing. It didn't call for garlic powder, but I am going to use that. It did call for some salt, and I will just add a tiny bit of that and some pepper. It calls for 4 chicken thighs, but I'm using 6, and that worked out fine for this. But the seasonings, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and season with that, and I believe it called for 2 teaspoons of salt, but you know me, I'm not going to use that much, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on just to kind of season it just a little bit. And the first thing you will do is just saute your chicken in a pan with hot oil, just that tablespoon of hot olive oil, and then I'm seasoning the chicken with just some, garlic powder and some pepper, and I do sprinkle on just a little bit of the salt, but not a lot, just to kind of, bring out some flavor. But you will brown this until the skin gets a little crispy, and some of my chicken didn't quite turn out that way, so some of the skin came off, and that's okay. It's more for flavoring, and we end up taking the skin off anyway when we go to eat this. So it's more, like I said, for flavoring, because when you put this in the crock pot, it's not, even if it was crispy, it's not going to stay crispy. And then take the chicken out and put it on a plate, and you can see where some of that skin did not stay on the chicken. It stuck to the pan. But I just took the chicken out, put it on a plate, and then I'm going to deglaze the pan. So all of that that's left in the pan is flavor. So add your onions, then add the cup of wine. And if you want, like I said, if you don't like wine, or there's a reason you don't want to use it, because it does cook off, so it's not, the alcohol cooks off when you're sauteing it, you can probably use chicken broth instead. But you want to reduce this by half, so just let that cook down. And while that's cooking down, and you want to release all of those little brown bits on the bottom, because that is a lot of flavor there. So make sure that you scrape all of that up as you're sauteing this, but reduce it by half. And then in the crock pot, you want to add the tomatoes, then add your oregano, the garlic, add your Kalamata olives, then you will add the onions and that wine reduction. So just get all of that in there and then stir it up really, really good. This is really flavorful. So put your chicken back in, and I do leave the skin on because, like I said, that's a lot of flavor. I do not add the juice that's on that plate back in there. Just for me, that's not as appetizing. So then I add a little bit more garlic powder over the top of that chicken, and you will cover this and cook it on low for about 5 hours. And this is what it looks like when it's done. And that sauce did thicken up some, so that was really nice. You can see on the plate that I've served it over some rice, and you can see that liquid there, but the liquid it's not as watery as you think. So it was a thick sauce, which I really did enjoy. This was a really good recipe. Really could taste the wine and the olives in this, It just was really a nice recipe. So this is definitely one I will make again. But I also wanted to show you when I did stir up the rice, how you could see that it wasn't as watery as it looked. And the chicken was extremely tender, so that was really nice. I had to use a spoon to scoop it out because using the tongs was going to kind of tear it apart a little bit, break it apart. But very good. Really enjoyed this recipe. Definitely one I think you should try. This next recipe is a slow cooker chicken enchilada casserole. So this one you can't get much easier than this. You need 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. So those 3 that I have equaled about that when I weighed it out. So you don't want more than that because it can get dry. But it also called for a large can of the red enchilada sauce, I believe 28 ounces. I can only get the 10-ounce cans, so I bought 3. I don't think a few ounces is going to hurt this too much. And a can of black olives, and that's that smaller can. So you want the sliced ones, or you can slice up your own, but it's specific on that size. Also some cheddar cheese, and I think it's 2 cups that you will need, and it calls for 10 corn tortillas. So that is everything you're going to need for this. And as I said, such a simple and easy recipe to make. So put your chicken in your crock pot. I do season it with some garlic powder and some pepper. It doesn't say to do that, but I did. Add your your enchilada sauce, however many you're going to use if you have the large one. Cover it and cook this on high for 4 hours or on low for 6 to 8 hours. And once the chicken is completely cooked, just shred it with 2 forks while it's in the crock pot. No need to take it out. It will just fall apart. It's very tender. And once you have that completely shredded, then take the 10 corn tortillas that you have, cut them in strips, and then put them into the crock pot and stir that up really well. And do not use flour tortillas because it will soak up too much of the sauce and everything. But just completely get that mixed in. Then add half of the can of olives and a half a cup of the cheddar cheese. Mix that in until it's fully combined. And once you get that mixed really well, just take the spoon and kind of press it down a little bit. So that way, you know, it's more on a flatter surface. Then add the rest of the cheese, so you should have about a cup and a half left. Add that on top. Add the rest of the olives that you have. Cover and cook this on low for about 40 minutes to an hour. And then after that time, it should be completely done. And this is what it looks like when it was done. I cooked it no more than an hour. And it really did turn out great. We really did enjoy this one. Had a nice flavor considering it didn't have a lot of ingredients or anything in it. And I just had some corn with it. So really a good meal and did enjoy it. Like I said, if you don't like olives, you can leave them out. But I find that they add flavor to it. But definitely if you're not an olive lover like we are, then you can leave them out. But I wanted to just kind of show because it looked a little soupy there, but it's not. It's just the way that sauce looks. But it was thick and it worked out great. So a nice enchilada pie made in the crock pot. And this next crock pot recipe is a crock pot pizza. So it was more for a lighter type meal for this evening. We weren't really that hungry. We had a late lunch and everything, so we're just looking for something a little bit on the light side. So I found this in the Slow Cooker Surprises cookbook, which is the Fix It and Forget It cookbook series. So it's called Crazy Crust Pizza, and the ingredients that you will need to make this crockpot pizza is 1 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour, whatever your favorite toppings are, and I would have liked red onions, but all I had was just the regular onions and some green bell peppers and pepperoni. You need a thick pizza sauce, so a half a cup of that, 2/3 cup of milk, 1 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese, 2 eggs, and I believe it's a half a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of Italian herb seasoning. So in order to put all this together, I'm going to show you real quick how easy it is. Just add your flour to a bowl, add the salt and the Italian seasoning. Just mix that in a little bit because this is going to be the crust. Then you will add 2 eggs and the milk. And just mix it until everything is completely mixed and combined well. So you should have, it's not really a dough, it's going to be something that you can kind of sort of pour into the crock pot. But once you get it blended, just spray your crock pot with a non-stick spray, and then just add that dough to the crock pot. And then you will just, once you get it in there, just level it out the best that you can to make an even layer. And then you're going to cover this, and you will also put either like a chopstick or a wooden spoon handle like that just on the edge of the crock pot and kind of vent the lid. Cook on high for an hour to let that crust set until it gets like a brown edge around it. I don't think I cooked mine as long, so that make sure you do that. You would add the pizza sauce and the mozzarella cheese and any toppings that you want to add to it. And if you want to pre-cook some of the toppings, you can do that as well. I'm just adding it on, and then I'm going to add the pepperoni. And I decided to add just a tiny bit more of the mozzarella cheese on top of the pepperoni. Cover and vent it again and cook for another hour on high until the toppings are cooked through, and this is what it looks like when it's done. And I did stick it in the air fryer for just a few minutes to try to get that mozzarella cheese melted and to get that pepperoni a little bit crispier. But the dough itself tasted fine, but I think I needed to cook it just a little bit longer. I kind of was in a rush, so you can kind of see that's how it looks when it comes out. But I would have preferred it to be just a little bit more darker and a little crispier, I guess. But that's not too bad considering it was made in the crock pot. But this was just a quick little meal here, and like I said, the air fryer came through with melting that cheese a little bit more and getting that crust just cooked through just a little tiny bit more, I think. But overall it was good. We enjoyed it. Fun to make. Just next time I will let that crust cook a little bit longer in the crock pot. But I hope that you enjoyed this video and it gave you some ideas that you can make for your family. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in seeing more like it, please click that subscribe button and the notification bell. That will notify you when I post new videos. Hope everyone has a blessed day. Thank y'all so much for watching. God bless y'all.